That's it. It's me, Lance Cardinal from the Big Stone Cree Nation. Hello and welcome everyone to my personal home here in Millwoods, and a very special day today. Today we're going to be putting in my very first elevated garden planter for my patio. I don't have a garden here. I've never been a gardener in my life, so I'm going to try my first garden and try to find a way to have edible foods here in the city. So kind of like an indigenous style plant box with herbs, vegetables, things I can cook with. But let's check out where we're going to put the planter. Come on over here. So my patio has a pretty awkward setup, but this little nook I thought would be perfect for a planter. So here it is, empty, and it's in its place now, but we're gonna take this down there and we're gonna set it up and make it into an amazing garden planter. Let's go do this. All right, here we are. Everything's in place. The first thing I want to talk about here is this incredibly beautiful planter I bought on Facebook. I went to Facebook and sort of looked up cedar raised planters and found this really cool planter right here. It's 4 feet wide by 12 inches deep. And of course, I thought it needed a trellis. So I went to Canadian Tire. You can buy these trellises separately. I shortened it, cut the wire, added the piece back on with some staples, and then I thought it would make a really great trellis, connected, right? And then what I did was got some stain and used the same stain color as my patio floor so it would sort of match. So now I have this beautiful planter ready to go. Also ready to go are the plants. Wow, look at these plants. All these are garden plants, all edible vegetables for my garden. I went to various different planters and greenhouses all over Edmonton to find the ones that I wanted, but I really wanted berries, raspberries, strawberries, mint. We have rosemary, we have sage, we have some peas here, some green onions, and some lettuce. So all of it is stuff I can make into salads and things like that. Super, super exciting. Also here we have ready to go all of our supplies for making the planter. We have our sort of clay pellets from IKEA, super cool. These are just awesome. They're little clay pellets you can put into a bottom of a planter or even a small bucket like this one. We're going to be doing a separate mint bucket today because the mint is a very invasive plant. So we're going to put mint in its own little bucket. This will be perfect for that. Also, we have gardening supplies here. I got scissors, I got clippers, gloves, even have some liquid plant food for later, as well as some fabric here. It's for garden fabric to put inside the box, also to separate some of the plants a bit. And of course, our soil, super important things we got here. I got a big potting mix bag of soil here, and also some organic compost to sort of mix it together. All right, so here we go. First thing we're gonna do is work on that planter. Let's do it. All right, so the first thing we're gonna do in this planter is we're gonna put holes in the bottom for drainage. Now, normally you don't have to do something like this, but I wanna have good drainage in my planter box so things don't get too wet, and they're gonna get a little bit moldy if it's too wet in there. So we're gonna drill some holes in the bottom of that and make sure we get some good drainage. Here we go. All right, so I'm using my drill right here. I'm doing 5/8 of an inch hole, about that big. I'm gonna drill about 6 holes along here, and then we're gonna cover it up with that fabric. It's gonna create a nice little filter for the water, and the pebbles will also create a filter. So let's keep drilling. All right, so all the holes are now drilled inside this planter, but come and take a look. I decided to do a little bit more than 6 holes. Ended up putting 3 separate rows of holes in the planter just to make sure all parts of this were well drained. So the next thing we're gonna do now is put in that garden liner all around here just to prevent the roots from going out the sides, also to help filter some of that water. But next thing we're gonna do is cut some fabric, so let's go. All right, everyone, so we're all done here with cutting the fabric. Now this is sort of a garden liner fabric you can buy at any garden store, Home Depot, Lowe's, Rona, wherever, but it's sort of to prevent weeds from coming through and also to help with the filtration a little bit. So we're gonna take this, I'm gonna staple it all to the inside just like this. What we're gonna do is get my staple gun, go all the way along the top here and bring it all the way around and finish in the center. So we're gonna staple it and we're gonna get at her. Here we go. Now these corners can be a little bit picky and fussy, but it's not a big deal. You just got to be careful. Fold them up if you want it to look nice and to staple it in place. But again, don't worry too much about it because we're going to have dirt and stuff all over this planter right in these corners anyway. So it's just to hold the stuff in place and provide a bit of a shield for the outside and to prevent roots from going outside your planter box. All right, I think we're good enough to go. So that's all filled in here. The holes are there for drainage. The next step we're going to do is put in our clay pellets. I'm going to go grab those right now. All right, so the next step we're going to do is put in some of these clay pellets. Now, because we're not doing too much of a drainage system here, I'm putting in some pellets to create a bit of a space between the dirt and the bottom so it doesn't get rotted. But what we're going to do is put in these clay pellets. They're really cool from IKEA. They're called Odla, and they are amazing. You can put them in small pots like this. We're going to put them in the bottom of our thing right now. So we'll dump them on in. All right, so what I'm doing here is I'm going to be cutting out a small rectangular piece of this gardening fabric to put on top of the beads. I'm thinking like just to make a divider, right? So that it doesn't, the rocks don't have all the roots in it. So we're going to put a small piece of fabric right on top of the rocks, just like this, right before we put in our soil. All right, so now that we have all of the pellets in place, I got about 1 inch of pellets in the bottom there, a nice piece of that landscape fabric on top of that to sort of help the roots from going into the drainage area. And now it's time for the soil. So I'm going to be mixing some of the soil here. We can see, come and take a look. We have some of the all-purpose potting mix soil here, just a regular potting mix you can get from any of the garden stores, just like that. And over here is a compost. Now this is 100% renewable resource compost, and it's made of like mulch and manure and all that kind of stuff. So really important is the ratio. So it's important we're going to do for a 4-to-1 ratio. So for every 4 amounts of potting soil, we do 1 amount of compost. And that's because if we do too much compost, then it can burn the plant itself and burn all the roots. So we're going to do that. Now keep in mind, I'm learning all this as we go along. I'm not an expert at gardening. I'm figuring this out as we go. So I'm going to mix a bunch of dirt here. I don't have anything else. We're going to mix dirt here with my hands, and then we're going to put it into the planter. All right, here we go. Okay, I'm all mixed up here, so I didn't use my hands to mix it. It's so nice to be out here in nature, working with the hands, and I'm using rubber gloves, really rubbery ones, so I don't get my fingernails dirty, because, you know, we're still in the city here, we're still a city person, trying to do gardening, so we gotta keep ourselves clean. So it's all finished, all mulched, mixed together, and if we don't use up this mulch here, we can always leave it in the bag and put it away for potting soil. Dirt's ready to go. Our next step is to plan out our garden. So let's take our plants, we're gonna figure out where they're gonna go inside of our planter. Let's do it. All right, so here we go. What we're gonna do now is take our plants and do a dry run in the planter. We're gonna put them in their pots inside and sort of see how they're gonna fit and how they're gonna go. I kind of like to do this to make sure I know how it's gonna look, because aesthetics are kind of important. This is the side people see, so we wanna have the taller plants on this side. Raspberry, I think, should go first here at the end. Strawberry, I know, has dangling vines, so I'm gonna put the strawberry here, and maybe it can dangle out the side, sort of like that. So I'm gonna put that in there. All right, so all the plants are in place and they're sort of positioning I want them in. If you want to come take a look over here and check it out. So I kind of have it in a certain way here. On the back row, we have all the snow peas. These are going to grow all up this trellis here, so that's why they're in the back. And in the front, we've got our strawberries, lettuce, our green onions, our rosemary, and our sage, and of course, our raspberry. So I didn't have enough room for all my plants. I got a few spares here, so we're going to leave them out for now. And these ones, these mint, are all going to go inside of our pot a little bit later, but we'll do that at the end. All right, so next thing we're going to do is put some soil in there and begin planting our plants. Let's do it. All right, so we have a little bit of dirt in here. I put a little bit of dirt, about 1 inch or 2 inches of dirt to start with, just to sort of begin it up. I'm going to put a little bit of water as well, just to sort of keep it wet. We're going to moisten this first layer, just to make sure it's nice and moist. The next thing we're going to do now is start placing our plants in, especially the bigger plants. So starting with our raspberry bush here. What we do is keep our tabs because they're super important to keep. And then we're gonna slowly pull it out of the bucket now. That's where the gloves come into place. You carefully slide it out. You can see here, a lot of these plants are gonna come kind of tight together. We wanna break them up a little bit. So I like to sort of put my hands into it, just gently pull apart these roots. It'll help for the growth later on. And we're gonna open it up a little bit just so that it encourages growth. All right, so here we go. We're gonna put that into place here. You can see here, it's almost perfect height to be putting in. We wanna get the top of the plants to go right to the top of that liner. All right, so there we go. Yeah, the first one's in. We're gonna do some more tall ones. Let's keep going. All right, so I got all the plants kind of in place in the garden box here in their locations. You can see here they're not quite covered up all the way, but you know, we got to put them in first to a certain level, and now I'm going to use the rest of the dirt to fill in all around the rest of the plants and then give it a nice big watering, and we should be ready to go. All right, so here we go. All right, so you can see all along here I put all the different snow peas along the back because I love snacking on snow peas. This is purely just for snacking, it's whole boxes. But this way these can all grow along the back, create a beautiful trellis full of plants, and the rest of it can be in the front. So that's my choice. All right, well, all the topsoil is in, the soil all around the plants, kind of gently pushed it into the soil a little bit, kind of covered up the plant just a bit, and now we're gonna put in a small layer of the mulch, the sort of composted mulch on top of the entire plant box. I'm gonna do this gently with my hands, just to kind of sprinkle it in, just to add that little bit of extra nutrients on top of the plants. All right, you guys, that's it. I'm all done. I put the top layer of mulch on the top. It is completely ready to go. Last part about it is a nice big watering to get all those nutrients mixed together, get it nice and wet, and then put it back up into the spot on the patio. All right, everyone, here we are. The planter is in place on my patio, and oh my goodness, what an adventure. That was super fun and not that hard. I mean, just, you know, go online and research how to plant things and what's the best thing to do. I think the garden looks pretty good, it's ready to go, but the last part is watering the plant. And we have this beautiful big watering can I purchased from IKEA. But you know what, I got this amazing stuff here. This is the Schultz Liquid Plant Food 10-15-10. This is amazing. A few drops in your water just like this, it'll give such amazing nutrients to your food. 7 drops per liter. We have about 4 liters in here, so we're gonna do about 4 eye drops full for this entire thing. And it just gives an extra little bit of nutrients for your plants. It's made by Miracle Grow, so it's gonna work well. So then we're gonna plant, here we go, we're gonna water our plants. So exciting. And now I have my brand new elevated garden planter for my home here in the city. Always nice to have vegetables in the city, things we can pick and eat naturally. And of course, it's very indigenous to have things like mint and rosemary and sage available for, you know, medicines and also for cooking. So very, very cool. Anyway, thanks so much everyone for joining me for this. It's been a blast. I hope it works out, but we'll stay tuned. I'll keep you informed on how the garden is going, and we'll try and keep it alive as long as we can. All right, everyone, see you later.